So, this is awkward. I'm just going to come out and say it. So, this is the first time that Drew and I, hi, this is Zach. I'm Zach with TableTalk Friday. This is the first time that Drew and I have done a show without Seth.
Which I don't know how to feel about it, because I feel like Seth is normally the one that sets us up. And by the way, you can't tell Seth, but we haven't recorded in like over a week. We're not doing our usual schedule. Seth left. It was like, yeah, keep it going, guys. And then we missed a whole week, and then we were like, yeah, let's put it off a little bit more. We have things to do.
We had a nice cushion of content that we pushed out while our boy was still here, and so we're just feeling it out. It's not that late. And Seth, if you're listening, we're doing such a great job. Don't listen to what Drew just said.
Don't even listen to this episode, Seth. Just go do Army things, whatever Armies do.
Yeah. So Seth is a few weeks into boot camp now, so we are still Sethless at the moment. So it's just you and me for the foreseeable future, at least, because I can't see past tomorrow.
See, what was it? Just the other day, we got a message in the chat. I don't know who sent it, but it definitely looked like a very vague, faded picture of Seth. I don't know. Was it actually him?
Yeah.
Him.
I think that was so. Our good buddy Sean Firefighter Eric sent us a photo. I think it is Seth at boot camp, because it's definitely him. But his head is shaved, and we haven't seen him with a shaved head. And it looked like the picture was taken on a 2002 digital camera, so it was impossible to fully decipher. But that was definitely my boy. I'm just I was so confused in the moment and flabbergasted that I didn't ask any follow-up questions. So I don't know how Sean got that.
No, it died off after that, because I was genuinely looking at the picture, and I assume other people were too. Like, is that definitely looks like somebody I know? Is that really Seth? But also, you got to keep in mind, right? So back in college, Seth was a beautiful Jesus-looking man with tons and tons of hair, long beard, and up till recently, he had a fairly bushy beard there. And so he shaved it just prior to leaving, so it threw me off a little bit, similar to Zach shaving his beard in college for photo shoot, or some sort of photo shoot.
No, I shave it once a year. I mean, I haven't shaved it completely super recently, but I like to mix it up. But in college, anytime I shaved my beard, it was for a role, because I was a theater major, so I had to. Or one time I did it for my makeup class, because I took makeup class.
Sound real manly, Zach. Your makeup class.
Yeah, please, it was makeup for the stage. So
I would love to take something like that. I know it's nothing I'll ever use in my lifetime, but I think it would be interesting to see how it's all done. I really enjoy the shows that are on nowadays. I don't know if Face Off is still on or not, but I love when they do all the visual effects with the full body costumes and shit like that. I think it's really neat. I don't know how you do it, frankly, or what kind of materials you would use, but I feel like it'd be really sick to take that kind of class.
Yeah, I mean, it was I think it was a 1 credit hour course, so we did it once a week. But it was basically, we show up, we learn a specific technique, and then we try it out, and it wasn't pass fail, but I don't think I was graded on anything. I definitely was, because I had 2 projects that I had to complete, but it was super chill. If you're in college, I wouldn't, and you're just looking for something to do. I mean, maybe don't if you're you're not into theater or whatever, because then you'll have to sit in a room with a bunch of theater kids. But
yeah, but think about how.
But
cool
you might
DM
give it a
you'd
try.
Be, you'd be a fantastic DM. You show up in full costume, right? You've done the full body, the face makeup, and everything. You have the little sound effects in the background. That'd be pretty sick.
You could really go all out with it. The issue with my experience is with stage makeup, and so this shit looks great from far away, but super close up, it's what's that on your face? So.
Is that more of an advanced technique kind of a thing, you think? Do you have to get good enough so it looks good up close, or does it always just look like trash when you're looking so
well, it always looks like trash when I do it, but
oh no.
I think it's probably just different, and so I don't know all the special techniques for film makeup or casual use makeup,
The
cosplay
cinema.
makeup. Yeah.
The only thing I can really relate it to is like back in college, I took an art class with a bunch of my buddies, including Seth and Sean. Actually, there was a bunch of people in there, and I remember going in. I'm so bad at drawing and painting and all. I'm not creative in that sense. I'm just not good at that kind of thing. It's not my niche, right? So I go in like, I'm gonna do really good. I'm gonna try really hard, and I did my damnedest in this art class. And our teacher was lovely because she graded me so graciously. It was all of my pieces of art. I wouldn't even call them that. They were atrociously bad. But I remember sitting there like after class, be like, yeah, I'm gonna stay a couple minutes late so that she sees me, sees how hard I'm working right now on this. And it was terrible. It was so bad. I was always afraid to like show my masterpieces to the class because I didn't want to like show them in front of everyone else's that were so much better. You know.
Yeah, she was very gracious because so just to out myself even more, it was my senior year and I realized, I don't have a minor. Well, what classes have I taken? Like, what can I wrap up real quick to like get a minor in there? Oh, visual art. I only need 3 more classes for that. I can do that. So my senior year, I took just a ton of, I took painting and advanced painting, and drawing wasn't offered my last semester. So I was like, shit, I don't have the ability to finish this class. So our gracious professor, she let me take drawing as an independent study. And so she had me do it like the typical drawing class. You've got like X amount of drawings that you have to complete over the course of the whatever. I did like half of them.
No.
And then COVID hit. And so, like, I was supposed to finish the rest of my studies. I sort of didn't. And she still gave me a B. So...
Did half your work and you got a B, Zach? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so, I won't name her here. But art professor Eric, thank you so much for my B. And that was my B.
Now, I'll give you credit where credit's due, because as we exited college and the epidemics was coming about, I don't think, looking around my senior year, I don't think anyone was putting up any effort whatsoever. We were all like, we're out of here soon. They're going to kick us out. They're not going to let us stay at these classes. It was just get your credits in and get out kind of a vibe, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But the other day when we had our send-off for Seth, right, at this, it was a little bar nearby in our local city. And it was wonderful because I got to catch up with one of our old friends from college, and it was so nice because I was very, I don't want to say I wasn't a tryhard at college, but I was very into my job being an RA. And so it was wonderful going back afterwards, talking to someone and be like, yeah, let's crap on this team. Let's crap all over what meant so much to us in college. It was nice getting caught up in that, you know?
Yeah. And, I'll say that was surreal as well because, truthfully, I mean, I remember the classes I took and I remember, like, the experiences and the friends that I've kept along the way, but it feels like such a blur. Like, I know that it happened, but I could be convinced that it didn't, you know? Like, maybe I was just in a fugue state that whole time.
Like, it was just so long ago, I can't remember all the fine details. I'm just remembering, like, the major people in the major classes kind of a vibe, you know? But going back to that bar just for a moment, 'cause I remembered a really good story while we were there. So everyone else was there first. Me, Zach, and my girlfriend, Eric. I think, who else was with us? Chase Eric, of course.
Chase Eric, yep, he was there.
So we all show up to this place, but everyone else was already sitting down and eating and drinking and whatnot. So, we need some food, right? So I take myself and my girlfriend, Eric, and we go next door to this pizza place. This pizza place was dope, first of all. We walk in expecting, like, we're going to get not a personal size, but we're getting like a regular normal size pizza for the two of us. We both eat a good pizza. We hadn't eaten all day. We're like, yeah, let's go devour this pizza, right? So we walk in, but they don't sell like whole pizzas, or at least they do, but they're massive. Like, I think it was 29-inch pizzas. Yeah,
this is over 2 feet. It's larger than a child.
It was absolutely. I definitely wanted to eat an entire one, but it was like $30 or $40 or something. I was like, I'm not sitting here with my girlfriend Eric and eating this entire pizza in front of my friends while we're hanging out. I feel like a jerk.
You come back with a whole ass pizza. We're like, what the fuck?
No, you guys can't have any.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, to be fair, if I'm spending $40 on a pizza, I'm eating every bit of that pizza. Yeah. Every last piece.
Oh, absolutely.
But we go into this place. It's delicious smelling, nice big pizza, right? Or supposed to be a nice big pizza. And instead, they sell these large slices for like, I think it was $6 a piece. And we're thinking like, oh, we don't want to get like so much pizza. I can't warrant just getting one slice of pizza. So we actually went outside and went to the little food truck. I think it was a taco truck or something. Had some delicious Mexican food there. But we had some regret. And we went back and we're like, screw it. We're going to get this slice of pizza. So we go in, we order this slice of pizza and we're waiting a few minutes. And the guy at the cashier starts laughing. And we're like, well, why is the cashier laughing at us? What's going on? And so and he calls my name. I step up and he goes, here you go. Here's your pizza. It's too big to fit in the package. I'm not going to apologize for it. And we're just sitting there like, oh my gosh, this pizza was overflowing out of this bag. They put like 3 plates around it to like catch all the grease and just squeeze it into this little bag. And it did not work. It was folded over like a taco. It was ridiculous sized pizza, but it was delicious.
Well, yeah. So, and you got lucky too, because they just so happened to cut that pizza really shitty. And so you got the massive pizza. Meanwhile, there was someone else, I'm sure, who got like, a little rinky-dinky slice. So
that's what I was saying. I was so glad that I also didn't get a second slice, because if so, it would have balanced out and it wouldn't have been as impressive. But instead, because we got one slice, it was $5-6 for like half a pizza from this one single slice. It was ridiculous, but it was delicious. And then just to wrap up the night, I know we have to get on to our topic in just a minute here, but just to wrap up the night, we all gather up, we say our goodbyes to our good friend Seth. We're going to send him off on his way, pat him on the back, give him a little slap on the butt. And he goes off to his car to drive home. And, we straggled behind a little bit because we were thinking about going back for some more pizza, frankly. But we start going to the car. And the person that was going to drive Seth home that night, their car was just not there. And so naturally, we're looking around going, okay, well, you misplaced your car. Clearly, like we've all done it where you go in the parking lot, you're not sure where you parked in Walmart, or you parked like a lane over or something like that. But we're looking around and it's not there. They are certain this thing is gone. I'm like, guys, I don't believe you. I'm going to walk down this way and look for your car. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm going to walk down this way by myself and see if I can find it. It was not there. We made some phone calls and the vehicle got towed. It got towed away from this little meet and greet with Seth. It was supposed to be like this nice final send off, and it ended with this car getting towed away. It sucked.
Well, the thing about it too was the car was not parked in front of like there wasn't any signage close by that said you can't park here. You had to drive up the road, and then while you're turning in, there's a sign blinking you miss it. That mentions that, and not only that, but it was your car was parked right next to them, and you didn't get towed just by some because they decided to go for her car first. So
I like to think it was just the luck of the pizza that night. Like something about that night just lucked out. I don't usually get that kind of luck. I think Seth rubbed off on all of us. I got this massive slice of pizza. My truck didn't get towed. It was a pretty solid night, to be honest. Not as much for Seth in their car, but it was pretty legit.
It was very lucky. It was a lucky Drew night.
I'll take it. I'll take any lucky nights I can get. To be perfectly honest, I feel like I don't get any of those. But I think without Seth here, I guess we'll have to segue into this topic of ours today, which seems so weird. I don't like this.
All right,
for Seth to just jump on in.
No, hold on. I'll do it this time. Welcome back to Table Talk Friday. My name is Zach Carvon, and I'm here with my one best friend, Andrew Romano, and Seth Pittman's not here. How are you doing today?
I don't like that, Zach. Your one best friend. We're going to have to... I was going to say we're going to call Seth, but we can't. He doesn't even have his phone.
No, he's in the Army.
You know what we should have done? We should have just had a little cutout of him or like a little picture on our phone just propped up on the desk. And we could refer to him and ask him questions throughout.
Yeah, we could do that that one cryptid photo of him in the Army that we just
that we're pretty
discussed.
sure is him, possibly.
I'm positive it's him.
All right, guys. Well, as Zach said, that this is us. We haven't changed our name since the first episode of the podcast. My day's going pretty solid. It's been a pretty hectic week. I had a full work day yesterday with five meetings in it. 5 whole meetings. Don't go to 5 meetings. If you have more than 3 meetings in your workday, just skip the last 2. Don't even go to them. But I'm doing pretty solid.
That's good, and no one asked, but I'm doing pretty good as well. I also had a shitty day at work, so we're not going to talk about it that much. But one interesting thing that so I work at a company where we have a tech team, and I sort of work closely with IT. And so I learned recently, and it was reinforced today that like I just work with a bunch of nerds, and so I work remote, so I don't see them in person and like chat with anyone like on a regular basis. Like all of my chatting is done through Microsoft Teams, which is the worst app known to man. So
It's pretty terrible.
yeah, so you don't get to know people that well unless you really seek it out. So anyway, I was on a call today, and I just learned that everyone or at least on the development team that I've been working with are just a bunch of nerds. So we got on the topic of Grounded, the game by Obsidian, where you shrink down and you're little whatever. I've never played it, but we were doing our sprint retrospective today, and for background music while everyone was coming up with their answers for our retrospective, so we could discuss what went well, blah 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 blah. Our background music was the theme music from Grounded. So I just have to sit here at work listening to Grounded OST interspersed with YouTube ads.
I gotta say, I don't remember if the soundtrack was that good or not. I did play the game very briefly when it came out on Game Pass, because it's on Game Pass. I gotta give it a try. It was pretty cool. For anyone out there enjoying Grounded, I'm kind of curious to see where it's gone since then, because it came out, like a year, maybe 2 ago, at some sort of convention. I don't know if it was an E3 or what it was. But it's really neat. You're running around in this world that's, I believe it's based off Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which I saw as a kid, which was a good movie. And you're just running around. There's all these life-sized, ants and butterflies.
Well, not just life-size. They're huge because you're tiny.
Well, that's the whole thing. You're so small, and everything is literally just full-blown, massive. Like I think it's the third world in Mario, where everything's just gigantic, right?
Yeah, World 4 in Mario 3.
Well, you got me, Zach. You got me on my Mario lore. See, you know what? Seth's not here, so we haven't talked about like Sonic or Mario or anything like that. So
let's keep it that way.
No, I didn't even say that. I don't know what you're talking about. But the game is really cool. I won't go super far in depth into it because I only played it for maybe a few hours. But the one thing that I remember specifically about this game was that they give you the warning about arachnophobia. And I'm like, that's silly, whatever. I'm like, I'm not gonna be scared, whatever. The spiders in this game are terrifying. Oh my god!
Yeah, no, I've seen footage of this shit because they're just massive. And again, I'm not a person who has arachnophobia, but from the perspective of someone who's tiny, a spider's one of the most terrifying things you could run into.
It was. There was a bunch of different kinds of them, and some of them were different sizes, but I believe they could like sneak up on you, or you'd actually hear them like stomping from around the corner. It's terrifying because when I think of a spider, it's like obviously it's so small, like it can't hurt me. I'm personally not scared of spiders because they're little itty bitty bugs, right? But seeing them charge you in this video, I've played some scary ass games in my day, right? I'm a Doom fanatic. I love Doom. I play DBD, which is a survival horror game, basically. That was really scary. I wouldn't not go back to it because of the spiders, but it's definitely unsettling seeing those things charge right at you.
Oh, for sure. And just to go back to the OST for a second, I will say it's really cool. From what I heard, it's just like super 80s synth, very like of that style. So they're really trying to summon the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids sort of energy from that. But anyway, this is not a Grounded podcast, and today, Drew, I'm just going to get into our topic, which is guns. We're talking about guns today and firearms, and specifically in Dungeons and Dragons, and how one might incorporate them into their games. So I'll say that for the longest time, we've sort of stayed away from guns. I know it's been, there are a lot of popular homebrew and different options that have sort of come up, but we've stayed away from them for the most part. But recently, because we've gotten into the Kobold Press's Tome of Heroes, and we've sort of been branching out with more non Wizards of the Coast 5e content, we've dipped our toes into it a little bit. So I think we just wanted to go over and share our thoughts with all of you. So.
Yeah, it's definitely something very, very different to us at the table. I think, maybe we've made jokes about it, or, we had some sort of magic item that was similar to something like that, but we've never really had them in our game for realsies, which I don't believe anywhere I've seen they actually call them guns in the D&D world. For the most part, I think they're called firearms or black powder weapons, which I think is kind of neat to get away from, like what you would normally call them. It makes it feel a little different, Plus, you don't want them to feel, at least in my eyes, you don't want to feel like you're playing a modern game. That's not really something that we try to do at our table for the most part. We joke around with like modern vibes, or we'll make a joke about something, up and coming in the real world. We'll joke about like the D&D movie coming up, right? The cinema. It's like, what's a movie? That kind of vibe at the D&D table.
Right, but it's all tongue in cheek. I mean, we're at our table, we're not usually, forsooth and the ho, I can't even think of
forsooth and ho.
Yeah, well, that would have made sense if we lived in medieval times. So anyway, we don't talk like that. So sometimes we'll make references that don't make sense in the context of the world. But to your point, we don't usually do firearms. But so I think that there are multiple ways that you can sort of come at the firearm question. So first of all, Wizards of the Coast does have some options that they've presented, but they're very bare bones, and so I think a lot of people don't even know that they exist, and they immediately go to homebrew. But just to say what's out there immediately. So in the Dungeon Master's Guide, it's page something. I'll pull it up right here.
Page 167. It's definitely
268.
Oh, that was a guess.
It's close-ish.
So it's 100 off.
Yeah. So in the DMG, they have different firearms options, and so they categorize them by Renaissance weapons, modern weapons, and then futuristic weapons. And so those are sort of the brackets that they include. And so for Renaissance weapons, they only give you a pistol and a musket, and then they have rules for bullets and bombs and gunpowder, so you can blow shit up. But it's all very, very bare bones. They work like crossbows in terms of they have the loading property, and there's not that much to it. The one thing of note, really, when it comes to these weapons, is they seem very powerful in comparison to non-gun weapons. So a pistol is it's a ranged weapon. It's got a 30 normal range and 90 distant range, and it does 1d10 piercing damage. Now, it does cost 250 gold, as stated in the DMG, but that's still the power of a heavy crossbow in a compact form. And then a musket is even better. It's got 1d12 at range, 40 feet up to 120 feet. And then it's also got the loading and two-handed property. And those are just the Renaissance items. And then if you go even further and look at the modern items, they get really nutty. They've got 2d6 for an automatic pistol. It's got a reload feature, so there is an enhanced reload function for some more modern weapons, so you don't have to reload every time you fire. So you can fire up to 15 shots with this weapon before you even have to reload. There's a revolver that does 2d8 piercing. And again, this is just the weapon's regular damage. I mean, you imagine this shit on any sort of character, you're adding tons of shit on top of that. You've got a hunting rifle that does 2d10, automatic rifle that does 2d8, a shotgun does 2d8. And then they also have laser guns, which is super fun.
Gotta have laser guns.
Yeah, laser pistol does 3d6 radiant damage.
Really?
Antimatter rifle does 6d8 necrotic damage, and a laser rifle does 3d8 radiant. So super powerful. Just right off the bat, mechanically speaking.
That's pretty nutty, because I actually haven't read too much into the DMG on firearms, or whatever they may call them in there. That's pretty sick. I had no idea that there was actual elemental damage on some of these, which I think is very flavorful and fun for a villain. And honestly, I hadn't known that there was such a good variety of them in that book. When I think of firearms in D&D, I think, okay, you're going to have a flintlock, you're going to have I don't know, maybe some sort of revolving rifle, perhaps, maybe, but even that might be stretching it, So that's interesting to see that they have like the assault rifles and the machine guns and things like that. Because when I think of D&D, I very much would think of like a Gary's Mod sort of vibe, where it's it's the basis of this game. You could take this rule set and blow it up in any way you want. You can change the guidelines, you can change the rules, and you can come up with your own homebrew worlds or whatever it may be. You could twist it to your own fortune, whatever it may be. So that's really neat that they give that many options. I do wish there were more options, honestly. I feel like it's not something that's like super touched on, but I do wish there was a couple more.
Well, so that's sort of the thing. Just right off the bat, most D&D worlds, in the first place, most D&D worlds probably don't have firearms at all. But if they do, it's going to be something with like, Renaissance sort of style, because we still want to have, swords and bows and axes in play as well. So it's very much like new firearms. And so you really only get the pistol and the musket, the flintlock pistol and the musket as like viable options. But there are more fantasy style guns. And if you really want to get into it, it's a fantasy world. You can do whatever you want. You could do blunderbuss, or you can upgrade it. So say there's a specific society that's really good at gunsmithing, and so we've got something closer to more modern firearms too. You could throw that in. I think the hesitancy there is just to make sure that guns aren't too cool so that they don't make all the other weapons irrelevant, which is, sort of what happens in history. So
yeah, but which is actually why I personally like the downside to firearms, right? When I think of them in D&D, I think of immediately, of course, a lot of people would probably think of this, the Critical Role. Obviously, the Critical Role campaign where Percy played a gunslinger, which is Matt Mercer's own version of a gun-toting adventurer, which was very, very neat. It was interesting to see this different sort of a vibe from a character. At least to me, it felt very different, and he played very specifically. He was kind of a fun, like, royal character. He had this big royal family, So it was kind of funny to see this snobbish guy wielding like these little pistols, and I think he even made some big rifle at some point. So it definitely really, really swaps up your world right there. But as far as what I was actually talking about was the actual downside of these things, right? So I don't believe it's not mentioned in the player handbook, and I don't believe it's mentioned in the DMG.
No.
Any sort of cons, any downsides to using these things, because they do have some good power, to your point, and they have some reasonable range, things like that, and they're very futuristic. They feel very powerful. So the idea that there is a downside is comforting to me as a DM, and I imagine to a lot of other DMs out there. As far as the downsides in the Tome of Heroes, which we've recently gotten, we actually covered in a recent episode of the podcast. It's basically a third-party book designed to expand on D&D. It gives you a whole lot of extra options, extra classes, extra equipment, I think there's some extra races.
Yeah, races, spells.
Tons of new stuff.
It's just a supplemental Xanathar's Guide to Everything-esque book where they give you a bunch of stuff to play with.
And amongst that stuff, there's a couple different options to choose from when you get to firearms. I will note they are, I'm not going to say significantly weaker, but they are weaker than the ones mentioned in the DMG for sure. Definitely not scaling up to the things like the automatic weapons and whatnot, the 2d8 I heard about.
Which honestly, 2d6 is already a lot of damage. You get up to 2d8 from a single shot, and you've got a fighter that can make up to 4 of these in a round, and then add their action surge or any haste actions or whatever. It's ridiculous. And then you add on the gunner feat from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. You don't even have to reload, you don't. You ignore the loading property, so you reload fast enough to ignore it. That's ridiculous.
Which I love that feat just because it makes you feel more powerful, being able to just like blow out shots really quick, or even when you take it down to the the crossbow level. I like the idea that you could just constantly start firing out arrows without having to reload. But in the same sense, I feel like if I'm playing a gunslinger, if I'm playing this big crossbow toting dwarf or something like that, I kind I kind of like the idea that I use my bonus action to reload, and I describe how I pull back the rope, or I have some sort of cranking device that I have to mount up to pull the bow back to get the tension back on the arrow. I think that's pretty neat.
Right, and so that's the thing. Guns are super cool in D&D and in fantasy, but if we're going to include them in a world where people are still sword fighting and that's like the main method of combat, then there's got to be some severe drawbacks. So the cost and the rarity of these weapons has to be high. The rarity of people who even know how to use these things has to be high, and then also there have to be reasons like the fact that they need to be reloaded, or they have to be kept dry so that they can fire properly, or any number of things have to the stars have to align. Which I think you were going to get to misfiring, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And before I even touch on the misfiring as well, just because you had mentioned it a moment ago, the idea that your ammunition can get like wet or soggy or unusable, that's pretty crazy, and that's not something you experience with things like bows or crossbows. You could snap your arrows, right? Something crazy could happen, but for the most part, in a regular adventure, I can't recall a time that the DM told me that like my arrows aren't going to work for some reason, unless maybe you're underwater for some reason, right? But in the Tome of Heroes, it actually does specifically mention that they're called black powder weapons, and so it's the idea that they're the old-timey kinds of firearms where you have to stuff the black powder down the barrel with a little rod. I don't know what the rod's called. And you have to make sure it's all clean and appropriate, otherwise it'll explode in your hand, that kind of a vibe. And so, to me, I think it's really neat the way they flavor it with the little paper pouches. You're supposed to kind of open it up, dump it into the gun with your bonus action, basically reload, right? And then you fire them off and you have to do it again, which is neat. But the idea that they're little paper balls, that if you were just, you get pushed into some water, if your whole class or your whole build is built around this pistol you have or this rifle you have, what do? That's it. You're out. Your ammunition's gone. You're going to have to start hitting him, pistol whipping him with this gun that you have, or throw it at him, I guess. Maybe you have a 30-foot range with that. I don't know. I guess use your strength to hit him with it. But just one of the cons. Moving on to misfiring, though.
Yeah, and so we'll mention there's nothing in the DMG about gunpowder getting wet being a problem, but specifically in the Tome of Heroes, they do have an optional rule where if it gets wet, then it's ruined, which makes a lot of sense. Continuing on to misfiring.
Yeah, so love and hate the soggy ammo debate, but as far as misfiring, you make an attack roll. Like any other weapon that you're going to have, you're going to roll a d20, and you're going to see if you hit the DC of your enemy, right? If you roll a 1 on these, it's considered a misfire. At that point, and I can get the specifics, but at that point, it misfires, and you have to fix the gun. On your next turn, you get the ability to make a save or a check to get it operational again, but if you fail that save or check, it's inoperational until you have the time to sit down out of combat and repair the weapon. So right off the bat, something you don't have with anything else is again, after talking about this ammo, your ability to just lose your weapon entirely, which is terrifying, again, but also it kind of balances out because there's other pros to using firearms, right?
Switching to your secondary weapon is faster than reloading.
I feel like reloading this game would take they say it's 6 seconds, your full round, right? I can't imagine it would have to be less, right? Because your full round to attack is 6 seconds. So you have to aim and fire, which I imagine is most of your turn, making sure you can handle that.
Yeah, that's at least 6 seconds.
But let's just say, right? You quick scope them, right? You quick scope
yeah.
the dragon with your flintlock pistol that you have, and you have to reload this thing. So let's say it takes 2 seconds.
Just to derail you even more, you can't aim with these Renaissance style weapons. Like you can, but a flintlock pistol or a musket or a blunderbuss or anything. These things were notoriously inaccurate to early American Revolution combat. Armies would just walk up in a straight line and shoot at each other, and only some guys would get hit. Like they're standing and shooting at each other point blank, and there's a good chance that you're not going to die.
It makes me think of the phrase "you can't hit the broadside of a barn." I feel like that's exactly what it was. I wish honestly some of the ranges on these things were a little shorter, because I love the idea that they do a little more damage, but they're more up close, very like shotgun vibe today, But that's where the fun part comes in for these misfires, right? You have the potential to lose your weapon, to lose your your action economy, your damage, all that kind of stuff. But it can also pay off for you. So in the Tome of Heroes, you get the ability. Of course, you can always nat 20 like normal, but when you roll your damage, you have the ability to do what they call as a burst. And so, for example, the pistol, I believe it does 1d6 of damage, right? And so let's say you hit, you roll an 18, it passes the AC of the enemy, you hit them, and you roll your damage. You roll your d6, and you roll a 6. If you roll maximum damage, and this goes for a number of other weapons too, if you're rolling a d12 or a d10, if you roll maximum damage, you can then burst it and re-roll the damage again, which sounds kind of nuts, but honestly, it only gets stronger because you can do that a number of times per day, equal to your proficiency bonus. So just think about that as a low-level character with a +2 proficiency bonus, right? You roll this d6, you roll the d6 2 more times, right? And so you could burst once, you could burst twice. So that is 3 rolls. Technically, you could roll 3 6s doing 18 damage before you get to any sort of modifiers or anything like that. Any sort of elemental damage you might be doing, any sort of ability that boosts that up. And Tome of Heroes specifically mentions that sneak attack or other damage that goes with the firearm also counts towards those bursts. So if you're a rogue with it, which I guess I feel like if you're playing a rogue, you probably don't want to have a gun.
Well, yeah, that's the funny thing that they would mention that, because maybe you get a single sneak attack with a gun, but like once that thing goes off once, there's nothing sneaky about it.
No, I guess you would have to use your bonus action to hide every single time. But even so, if you're anywhere indoors, your DM would have to like brew it so that you can't hide. I mean, the entire hallway is ringing with this echoing blast that you just sent down the hallway. And Tome of Heroes actually does do a good job at mentioning this kind of sound. It makes me think very similar to a what is it called?
Thunderwave.
Thunderwave, where it does, I think it's 300 feet of a thunderous boom anyone around you can hear, right? So it's very similar. I don't believe they gave a specific distance, and if they did, it was something similar to the Thunderwave.
I think it was 300 feet, actually.
I like the idea of keeping it that way. I think anything you do that would be thunderously booming, some sort of loud spell like that would cast a large radius. Someone in the general vicinity would be able to hear it. But
yeah, it's usually pretty consistent with that. I'm pretty sure. I feel like Shatter also does the same.
I think it is something similar.
And then
because it can damage structures and whatnot.
Yeah, and Thunderous Smite also has that big boom. Which I feel like it's 300 feet. Maybe I'm just pulling this out of my ass. Anyway, it doesn't usually come up in our games. We usually just say, yeah, it booms, but you're already in combat, so.
No, and again, this is still very new to us. We haven't explored this a ton. We just started using them a couple weeks ago when we really tried them for the first time. For the most part, we tried Monster of the Week, and we discussed that in a previous episode of the podcast. Go check it out, guys. Go check it out. But we were a little more modern day. Shouldn't say a little more. We were modern day in this separate tabletop game that was not D&D itself. So that was really neat, and I think that kind of sparked more interest and inspiration into what we could do with D&D. We've been talking for weeks now about all different kinds of settings, including space and laser guns and all this new stuff we could really put into the game with Spelljammer coming up in our upcoming campaign. So I love the idea that we're now kind of dabbling with all these new things and really feeling out some more modern stuff or some things that will make the game feel different. But to the same extent, I feel like I'm scared to go further. We talked recently about the divide between fantasy and kind of complete sci-fi, right? High fantasy, if you will, for a lower level. And now that we've tried them, I'm having a blast with them, but I'm scared to do more, to get too much more techie. But in the same sense, I still love Eberron. I love all these steampunk settings. So I want to explore more with Firearms, but I don't know how much more we can go.
Yeah. So I'll say I think Spelljammer is a perfect place for there to be guns because you're in outer space, and so it's that especially if not laser guns, then the GIF are famously good with firearms and that sort of their whole thing. So it's very it seems very fitting in that specific setting, or even Eberron. They don't mention specifically that there are firearms in Eberron, and it's I think the intention there is that Magic has sort of negated the need for firearms, because who needs a gun when you've got a wand of firebolts?
No, that'll do it.
But even there, I think it is mentioned that like the goblins maybe have like some primitive firearms that they've been crafting, so that's sort of their thing. But it's difficult to bring it into like a full fantasy setting, I think, without having everyone want a gun. is sort of the situation, which, you know, canonically in Forgotten Realms they do have guns. They I think they call it smoke powder or something like that.
Oh, smoke powder's fun. I like that.
Yeah, and so it's all magic based, but there are, you know, I think even in like Waterdeep Dragon Heist they have people with flintlocks, and so it's canon, but it's rare, and you know, I'm just of multiple minds about it, because again, when you have guys walking around in suits of plate armor, where you know, in a world with guns, like is that even gonna fully protect you against that? Like, what's the idea there? You know, and historically speaking, plate armor sort of fell out of style, not necessarily because it couldn't repel bullets, but it just wasn't practical when there are you know, multiple shots coming at you from multiple angles, and you know, you're just so far away.
I'm genuinely curious to know if like an old-timey Western flintlock would pierce some sort of heavy armor that you see in D&D. I honestly don't know. I feel like maybe not the first one. Maybe the first couple would kind of dent it like a little BB gun or some little Red Ryder, you know, but maybe after a couple it would get through, or something like chainmail where it's kind of more open. But in the same sense, I feel like the chainmail would somehow catch it. I'm not an armor expert by any means, but I don't know how effective it would be all the time.
Well, you know, maybe I might say it's like a magic thing, right? So typical armor, you know, like a leather, studded leather, that's not going to protect you from a bullet necessarily. But
no, not leather.
But so maybe we say all typical guns ignore, but that would make them even more powerful. You ignore armor with your guns, except for magical armor. So it's non-magical armor, it pierces, but magical armor, that's able to repel. That would be cool, but that would necessitate that every adventurer have magic armor.
See, and I love that idea, and maybe these are the reasons that these things aren't implemented more in people's games, period. Not only in the Forgotten Realms world and whatnot, but also in just at the table, because DMs are probably, like myself, kind of intimidated, first of all, of goofing up the vibe, right? Possibly making it too modern or feeling not like it's a fantasy game anymore. But in the same sense, also having to think about all these things. Because once you introduce one, right? Once you introduce a revolver of some sort or a musket, other people are going to want it, first of all, right? And you have to think about all these different types of armor. You have to think about your enemies again. You have to think about, how far spread are these things? What types of enemies have these? Now that you've seen one or two, are there groups of bandits that patrol with these things? Are there people stealing them? Where are they coming from? There's a lot of lore and different factors that kind of come into play once you put these in your world. And you don't want to be that guy that takes it back. Like, oh, that gun you found yesterday, you didn't. Like that's such a letdown.
Or a rust monster shows up and they look particularly hungry for gun.
that's a good way of just ruining your players' games. Actually, give them some sort of magic item. You're like, tug at the collar. It's a little too strong. I need to take it away. And you send some sort of rust monster that eats magic items. Or just
black
something.
Pudding.
Oh yeah, your weapon's actually really poo-poo now. It's got a -4 to everything. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of those solutions. So again, probably why we haven't seen so many guns in our games, or for that matter, super overpowered magic items, at least early on, because that never feels good.
No, which is why I think people are a little more into trying them in, one-off scenarios, or like we did Monster of the Week. Heck, when I ran the Christmas one-off, 2 months ago, I guess. It's just Christmas feels like it was yesterday. But I almost had a magic item called the AK-47 of firing.
Oh yeah, what does that do?
Well, you see, it fires bullets. And I was just going to put it in to see if anybody wanted to do anything with it. Maybe put some Christmas lights around it, or maybe it was made from, the wood on an AK. It could have been made from like the bark of a long dead Christmas tree, and it shot out like this, just like little star bullets or something really stupid like that. But it's so much more fun to try these things when you don't feel obligated to it, right? You're not going to be worried that, oh, my campaign's ruined or it's derailed or something like that. It's way more fun like that. To which case, I actually do want to jump into, I'm not super familiar with all of the classes, all the Tome of Heroes things. It's very new to us. But in in a session we did recently with the live play, I think, Zach, the live play has come out already, right? The first episode?
Yes, it has, I'm sure. Or if it hasn't, surprise, we've done a live play, and I think maybe we've mentioned it on a separate episode already, but we did a live play with some of the Tome of Heroes options. So, Drew, your character was sort of a big proponent of firearms and sort of showing off some of the options that they have in Tome of Heroes.
Yeah, and he was a blast, no pun intended. I really enjoyed.
I feel like that pun was intended.
Oh no,
actually.
it was super, super intended. I definitely had it pre-planned prior to the episode. I was like, I'm gonna try that. Yeah, give it a go.
Whenever you brought up, we're gonna do firearms next episode, you were like, I've already got my pun planned. My character was a blast.
The joke is, I wanted to do this topic because I had the pun ready.
Exactly,
the pun came first. But yeah, so. Jumping in, I wanted to try something from the Tome of Heroes. That was kind of the vibe of the live play. And I won't go too far into it because I want you guys to go take a peek at it. Check it out. It was legit. We had a total blast. But my character specifically was... I wanted to base him off of an old Western like gunslinger kind of a vibe. Not only because it's fun, it's one of those staples that you have to complete in your D&D career, but it also felt more, old-timey. It didn't feel like I was breaking that fantasy barrier by any means. I still felt very immersed in this odd, not real setting doing it. You know? And so to make it even more so that way, I actually decided to play the Black Powder Sorcerer, which I had no idea existed until recently, but is super, super freaking cool. I didn't want to be just a regular guy with like a gun, like, oh great, I'm some commoner with a gun, right? The sorcerer, basically, you can cast all of your spells through your firearm, and you have all these cool abilities that boosts up your damage and your ability to shoot them and magically reload them, right? One of the bigger ideas is that you can cast Mage Hand like normal, but you can have multiple hands. And so normally your mage hands can't attack, right? But you get multiple hands that I think it's around 5th or 6th level, they get this capstone, right? Where they can use their action to pull the trigger on every gun that you're holding with your mage hands. You can hold up to 5 of these things at level 20, which is insane, right? So you can use your action to fire out 5 of these things, all which case have the ability to burst, like we talked about before.
Again, this is the reason that we can't have nice things. It's because guns just seem so cool. And so, again, they don't specifically state for most character classes that you do have proficiency with firearms. So, like, there are ways for the DM to sort of throttle this, but I don't know. It just seems like it that really pulls out the fun. And this has happened before in a session I've played where a gun shows up and instantly I want to use it. Of course I want to use it.
You have to use it. You can't not.
For X reason. Oh, well, your character's not trained with firearms. You're gonna have to find a firearm master who will teach you how to do it. Or oh yeah, I mean you've got the gun, but you don't have any ammo. Like where are you gonna find that, huh? Genius.
And good luck doing that because you just spent the last 75 sessions of your campaign looking for this gun. You finally found it. Good luck finding the master or any ammunition to actually use this thing.
Yeah. But I will say if you're a player out there and your DM is down, I think the best non-homebrew or official way to do firearms, and something that I've wanted to do for a while, is go Artificer, because they have their their built-in firearm proficiency, and then you got to be a GIF. You got to be a GIF artificer, so you get those bonuses. Well, I believe they can fire firearms at max range without disadvantage. Is their special thing, and then they also have, or as an artificer, you should go artillerist. So you've got your arcane firearm, but you can make it a real gun, and then you're just having a blast.
I want you to know.
We got to stop saying blast.
Blast. It's a blast.
I didn't mean it. That wasn't intended.
It was intended. But funny enough, when I was building this character, I didn't think about. I I thought about being an artificer, but I didn't think about the artillerist for some reason, which is the whole point D&D of playing the artillerist, is so you can have this. I think they call it the arcane firearm, right? Which was super cool. But the character was real fun. And without giving too much away, I'll give away a little of my inspiration for funsies. I do, as everyone knows, if you listen to this podcast before, I play Dead by Daylight a ton. It's like the sole game I play on a daily basis. And I based him for a little bit of flavor off of the Deathslinger killer in the game.
I see.
And so his whole shtick is that he's got this harpoon gun basically that he can reel. I was gonna say re-wheel, but reeling is the correct word I was looking for. Where he can reel people in with it. So he harpoons people, it goes through their body in some way, and it hooks onto them like a fish, and you just pull them on in. So then you get the little stab off, which is really cool. So I flavored it with sort of this chain, creepy, eerie feel.
Yeah, see, I thought your chains were really cool. Not to spoil too much, but you've got chains.
Yeah. So I don't want to say any more about this character. So I want you guys to go listen to this session because it was actually really, really enjoyable, and something super different. But jumping into some other firearm stuff, I do want to mention some other Tomohiro stuff before we get too far off topic.
Okay.
So there was the regular pistols we mentioned before. I believe they deal a D6. They had the pretty typical range of what you'd expect. I like the idea of using the smaller weapons just because it gives you an increased chance of bursting. If you're using something that does a D12 of damage, you could probably do more with the die, but it's less fun when you have a 1 in 12 chance of bursting. I want to be bursting like every other turn, So that was pretty cool. I only used the pistol so far. But they also have other things like revolving rifles, which are really neat.
The cool idea, like I guess in the Midgard setting, the dwarves have made just high powered, high tech weapons. So they've got like a revolving rifle, like you said, where you get your 6 shots and then you have to reload, which super cool.
Super cool. As far as the reloading goes in Tome of Heroes, they did actually implement, I guess similar to some of the automatic weapons you hear about in the DMG, they have little magazines that they call them, which I think is kind of fun. It removes your need to reload for so many shots. And realistically, some of these things I think hold like 5+ rounds. And if you're even if you have a multi-attack where you're doing it twice, maybe 3 times in one turn, if you have 10 shots in your magazine or something like that, you're good for the fight. You're not going to be doing anything crazy with this thing. You're not going to have to reload before you start your next fight, which is pretty neat.
Or you just come packing, so you've got your revolving rifle. But when you run out of that magazine, you switch to your dual pistols, and then you keep going.
I like the dual pistol. Oh, I should have done a Kimbo. Well, I guess I magically holding weapons in the air, I guess, is kind of counting as a Kimbo, I suppose.
Yeah, you had what, 3 guns?
Yeah, I think because I had one that I was holding in my hand, and then I had one each in each of my chains on my shoulders.
Yeah,
so
you were fine.
Oh, no, I guess you're right. But yeah, so moving on. Although I do want to say I thought it was super funny when I was looking into the magazine itself. When you think of using these firearms, often you're going to think of a revolver or a musket like we've talked about before. The idea of then somehow finding a magazine that works in this musket that you were previously loading with a stick and some sand, like I don't. You have to be kind of creative in how this magazine fits your firearm that you're using, especially when it was so novel and primitive before.
Well, it's got to be a weapon that's built to take a magazine. So like a dwarven revolving rifle has a magazine, and you I guess you just take it out and load the magazine itself, because I don't know how many magazines you're going to find just lying around. This isn't The Last of Us. Speaking of The Last of Us, the most recent episode, if you've seen it, was great, but
I don't want to get off topic, but I've been hyping myself up for this show. I know you guys talked about it last time in our in our opener. But this show looks so good. I've been seeing like random little clips as I start scrolling. I'm like, no, look away! Don't look at this thing. Zach, I didn't even tell you. I started back on The Walking Dead.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Like the show?
Yes. So I'm on season 9, but halfway through.
That's crazy.
Isn't it? So
they have 9 seasons?
They have 10 seasons, Zach. 10 seasons.
Is the 10th one the last one?
I think so. From what I've been told, I'm trusting my fiance Eric to give me truthful information regarding TV shows, and supposedly she's
seen the rest of the Walking Dead.
No, we've been watching it together this whole time, but she's nifty with all the Hulu and the Netflix and all that kind of stuff.
So she scrolled down and you just you couldn't be bothered.
Couldn't be bothered to scroll down any further.
I see.
But anyway, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. But I really just want to finish it so I get back onto The Last of Us. I so badly want to watch this thing, if nothing else, for this 3rd episode that people keep talking about, because I just want to know how it goes. I want to see it.
Yeah, 3rd episode was great. Yeah, you know what I'll say, just to give you a little sneak tidbit. The most recent episode, just to date this when we're recording, was episode 6, and this was the first episode that I experienced where I'll be frank, the story and the way they're telling it. I feel like it's maybe a little bit better than the game, but the one this was the first scene that I'd encountered in the show where I was definitively like, it's both great, and they did it pretty much like word for word how it was done in the game, but I liked the delivery in the game better of the scene. So
okay.
I won't spoil what it is, but if you're a fan of The Last of Us, you might have seen it in the trailers already. And it's a impactful scene. It's one of the ones that makes me cry in the game, but it didn't make me cry in the show. So I felt a little gypped.
Oh. So I do have to know. You said it felt better than the game, which to me my heart dropped when you said that because of how impactful this game is. I don't know how many episodes there are. I assume there's not that many more. It's a short series.
It's going to be 9 in this season, and I believe they've already been renewed for season 2. So we're going to get The Last of Us Part 2.
I don't want it.
I don't want it.
I'm scared. I'm scared to see this thing.
I forget if I mentioned this when we talked about The Last of Us already, but The Last of Us 2 gave me moderate to severe depression.
It's a rough game. It's a rough game. But I really, really want to know for myself if this TV show is on par with this game. I feel like in my heart it can't be, but everyone else is contrary. Everyone else is telling me that it's fantastic. It's on par with this game. It's really telling the story, even though from my understanding it's actually fairly different, where they told sort of a different angle of this story.
Yeah, you can't tell a riveting. I mean, I'm sure you could, but it wouldn't hit the emotional, impactful story about sort of like this father-daughter story, even though they're not father-daughter, but you get it. It's a daddy issue story, and I feel like that would really be undercut if in the show we see the invincible man barrel through hundreds of human lives without really flinching or blinking. To date in the show, I feel like Joel's only killed like 3 people.
Really?
Yeah.
On episode 6?
Yeah.
You killed
You killed 3 people in the first 20 minutes of The Last of Us.
Jesus Christ!
In the game,
makes me think of that last scene in the game that I won't talk about. But
exactly right. And I'm so curious about how they're gonna handle that, because they've made just by virtue of the reduced level of violence that Joel commits in the show, he's a very different character. So I won't spoil that much for you. He still hits the same notes, but it's definitely like I don't know, the difference between Kratos and like
Kratos.
I don't know, a real person. So
I like comparing Joel to Kratos.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like in the game, Joel might as well be Kratos.
You think so? I don't know, man.
No, I mean, no, but he seems unstoppable. Like, he's getting shot and stabbed left and right, and he's still running, and I'll just put a Band-Aid on that. We'll keep going.
Well, you know what? Talking about unstoppable, the whole point of this episode is talking about firearms. Why do you even need firearms in your game if you can have Ellie's bow? That's all you need in your D&D games is one kick-ass Ellie bow that just insta-kills everything you shoot.
Well, yeah, I guess if you really wanted to have the most satisfying Firearms experience, I'd probably... it would have to be like a more modern sort of situation, or if you want to have it be like, Old West or whatever, but we have to limit the amount of ammunition that we have. So everything is precious, and so using a bow is more helpful in that sort of situation because you could potentially retrieve your arrows. When you shoot a bullet, it's done. So...
Which in D&D it does specifically say in the Tome of Heroes that you cannot reuse your ammo. I'm not sure if there's any rules for reloading them. It's really just powder in a small paper pouch for the most part. So I imagine there's really no way you could reuse it. But I don't know. I feel like it would be very difficult to get the ammo, like we mentioned earlier. But in the same sense, you have things like the I think it's called the blunderbuss in Tome of Heroes, where it uses, I think, 5 pieces of ammunition instead of 1, like a typical firearm.
Yeah.
And it makes people have a dex save, and it hits all of them, right? It does half damage if they make the save. The typical sort of fireball vibe of a dex check, right? Using 5 of your bullets on one shot, like, I don't know if I could warrant, like, it would be cool the first time, but if you could only hold, let's say 20, like I'm thinking of a quiver where you can keep 20 arrows in it, maybe you have some extra in your backpack or something like that.
I'm sure you could keep more bullets.
Yeah, probably, but even so, 5 bullets, that's a lot. That's 5 separate attack actions with any other firearm. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that is a good point. But it's a cone that you can shoot out as your attack action. So you can do this multiple times. That's, again, it's just nuts what they let you do.
I wonder if it'd be worth it. I assume it could still burst. I think it can. I think they mentioned bursting. If it's hitting multiple targets, the bursting will still go off. I don't know if it damages everybody, though. That seems too strong if it's hitting everybody.
Exactly. So 5 bullets really is a pittance for what you're getting there. I mean, I guess I didn't look at the blunderbuss rules. Is there like a set DC? It doesn't scale for that?
Yeah, I don't believe it's scaled unless you had like a some sort of magical version of it. If I had to guess, I'm looking through the book now. It was like a DC 13 or 14.
Okay,
or
so realistically, it's doing a large cone of damage, but whatever you do, it's going to be halved anyway. So that's fair.
Yep. It is a DC 13, but it does 2d4 in that 15-foot cone. So think about how if you're hitting 3 targets, that's 6 die. You have a 25% chance of bursting.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. Well, do you roll for every target that you hit separately, or do you just roll once and then apply that damage to all of them?
Oh, you know what? That might be the case. I don't know.
But again, we're getting way too in the weeds here, but now I want to know. So it's 2d4. Do you burst if either of those gets a 4, or is it both of them have to get a 4?
No, so you burst on any maximum damage roll of the firearm. So if both of them
right,
are 4,
because
they both
sneak attack
burst.
applies, yeah. So that's nuts. That's going to be bursting every time. I mean, again, though, it's just a D4 that you add for each. So I guess that it seems pretty cool, though.
It's
anyway.
still pretty fun. Pretty fun.
Too powerful. Yeah. So we've been talking for a while. Just to give my final thought, I think. We're just over the hour mark.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Look,
I know.
See, we're capable, Seth. We could do this on our own. Look at us.
We're vibing. I think my ideal gun situation is I don't know if you've seen or I know you haven't played Bloodborne. No. So they do guns in there, and it's all Victorian. So still like it's post-Renaissance, sort of in between modern and like D&D fantasy guns. And so basically your gun is your offhanded weapon in that game. And so you can use it to like interrupt attacks that are coming at you and that sort of thing. But your gun is always weaker than your main weapon because it's just not attuned to really killing the sorts of things that you're coming up against.
Okay.
So, you've got your beast hunter weapons that are specifically attuned to killing beasts and that sort of thing, but your gun just doesn't compare. I think that's how I like it. Like I like the presence of guns, but I don't want them to overshadow my big dumb sword.
My big dumb sword. No, I feel like that's reasonable. If you take more of a sidearm vibe, which is kind of what I think of like Call of Duty, right? So you have like a little pistol on your side that you use only in the most dire of circumstances, or if you run out of ammunition, maybe you've expended your uses of your sword or your knife that you happen to be using. So I do like that take on it.
But if you want to talk about cool fantasy guns, definitely Bloodborne's got some wacky shit. They got like a one-handed Gatling gun.
Really?
That you can just whip out. But it uses up your ammunition really quickly, and all the shots aren't doing that much damage. But also like a hand cannon, which would be super cool in D&D, or a
little boomstick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they don't have like a shotgun-ass shotgun, but they do have a blunderbuss that's very much the same vibe. Yeah. Other thing that I really want in D&D is just a shotgun-ass shotgun, though.
Lever action shotgun, Zach. Come on, you can do it.
I for my artificer that I'm currently playing, I did send Seth a shotgun prototype that I was just like, hey, if we get some downtime, maybe Oswin builds a gun. How about maybe he does that? And Seth was like, yeah, we'll talk about it. And then we ended up deciding on a more powerful crossbow, which is super cool. Honestly, it's cooler than the shotgun that I devised, but I could make a really cool shotgun. And I really, when we returned to hell, I wanted to be the Doom guy. That was sort of my
Zach.
I just wanted the da-da-da-da-da, that sort of situation.
I'm so glad you didn't say that to me earlier, because I would have been thinking about it for days. I would have lost sleep over it. Like, Zach's gonna be so cool next session. He's gonna whip out that meat hook from Doom Eternal, start flying around, lighting things on fire.
Yeah, honestly.
Although I guess your character would have liked that because he's scared of heights. He would have been flying.
Yeah, no, Osmond wouldn't fly. So maybe somewhere further on down the line, if I ever play a GIF, I'm gonna try and make him a GIF, but the Doom guy.
It's on my bucket list now. I know I'm touching the Deathslinger sort of or Gunslinger sort of a vibe, but I'm definitely gonna have to double back and try something that very much so gives me Praetor armor and allows me to teleport and shit like that.
Well, yeah, the thing is, we've never had a better opportunity for this either, because we're going through all 9 hells, and I mean, we haven't been fighting that many demons. It's been mostly devils, but let me have my fun.
Did I waste the last 70 sessions of my life, Zach? Could I have been the Doom guy?
You could have. No one told you to be Pyth.
I should. I can still swap. Can I kill Pyth off? You think Seth let me swap out the steep in?
It'd probably be pretty easy, but you shouldn't.
That's fair. All right. I guess closing thoughts on Firearms for me. They're a blast. I can't say blast again.
He did it again.
No.
Everyone groan in the comments. On Patreon.
They're exciting, is what I should say. They're fun. They were really enjoyable the few times I've gotten to use them now in D&D, and similar games. So I would recommend people give them a try. Maybe not just dump them into their main campaign. It could be a little weird. Can kind of throw off the vibe and things. Similar to like you wouldn't throw in the deck of many things in your game. It might off balance some things, not just because of power, but just the overall feel, even the setting. So if you're going to do it, I encourage it. But just be careful with it. Don't overpower the table with it. Don't be the futuristic guy in an old fantasy setting. Don't be that one guy with like a taser. It's just weird. You're gonna throw off everything. But yeah, if you want to flavor that, or even if you want to get some sort of crossbow ranged weapon that has some sort of repeating property, or has a longer range, something you get to reload a little more. I like that too.
Well, yeah, and you know what? One final thought. I do think that the modern weapons that they throw in the DMG, that this probably isn't designed for like classic D&D combat. Like if we're going into a situation where all of our weapons are doing 2d8, this could make for a really cool, like, realistic modern situation where, okay, everyone's got like 10 hit points. If you get shot, you're probably gonna die. I think that could be really cool as well. So
just maybe one in the chamber sort of gameplay from Call of Duty, where it's just you get shot once and die.
Yeah, shit like that.
That's terrible.
So I think that could be a cool, exciting way to do D&D as well, but probably just for like a one shot.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to Table Talk Friday. It's been a blast doing this without Seth. It's kind of weird. I'm gonna look over towards Seth, expecting him to do the outro, but he's not there. But thank you for listening to this episode of Table Talk Friday, a D&D podcast. If you have some time after our post show and after this episode, you should stop on into our Patreon at Table Talk Friday and see what's going on. We have a couple people chit-chatting in there, commenting on some of our videos. We have some extra content you guys could check out, like the post show shortly after this, and you can get all of our episodes a week ahead of time. So feel free to go check it out. But on that note, I'm going to say, can the gunslinging outlaw take us out?
Ooh, that's me. It's me, the gunslinging outlaw. And that's what I do. Boy, I sure do love shooting guns. And I commit crimes. I commit crimes too. I forgot about that. So yeah, don't mess with me. You really shouldn't mess with me. Also, good old gamer. We're so glad for you producing for this episode of Table Talk Friday. Thank you. Have a good night.